Today, we will dive into a peculiar case in Mexico from a TikToker named Lupita TikTok. Since her difficult childhood, her life before social media, her health condition, her jump to fame she got thanks to social media, and the exposure she started to get submitted to because of it. We'll talk about her relationship with her husband, her polemic pregnancy, and the recent situation of her newborn daughter, found hospitalized by DIF's intervention. Just to give a small description of what the DIF is, it's the National System for Integral Family Development. In Spanish, Sistema Nacional para el Desarrollo Integral de la Familia, is a Mexican public institution of a social assistance that focuses on strengthening and developing the welfare of the Mexican families. This is the story of Lupita. Today, we will talk about a case that has caused big controversy in social media, the one of Lupita TikTok, a social media figure from Monterrey that has been criticized and defended, but now being investigated by authorities following the hospitalization of her baby, the death, the detention of her husband. But behind all that mockery, morbid, and cruel comments, this is a story that obligates us to talk about mental health, young maternity, grooming, etc. Today, we will talk about her story surrounding maternity and the factors that have taken her to be in the situation that she is currently in. But first, who is Lupita? Guadalupe Guzman was born in the year 2003 in Monterrey, Nuevo León. Lupita, as she is known by her peers, since she was a child, she apparently lives with a condition known as dwarfism. And since she was little, she has to prepare herself upon a society that is not always prepared to accept differences. She grew up surrounded by mockery and judgment. Besides this condition, Lupita seems to also have a certain mental condition that is not very much information on or any information on it. This situation has also brought problems with the people around her. Besides having to confront discrimination, bullying, and the jokes about her height, she also confronted extreme poverty and a childhood without emotional containment. Her mother, confirmed by Lupita, also lives with a disability that has not been really specified, and she had to carry on herself forward in precarious conditions, both having to panhandle and sell stuff in the street. Lupita, still being a child, was already on the streets trying to maintain a household. That childhood marked by necessity, no stability, and total absence of institutional help molded her emotionally, which also explains why further on, when she started to receive views, likes, and followers, she did not know how to say no. No to the critics, no to the abuse, no to the followers that treated her like a spectacle. Lupita started by working out in a deposit, helping and attending clients. I know I am doing this video in English, but this is for all my bilingual people out there. But either way, I am going to be adding the videos and the subtitles in English in case you don't understand them. But either way, if you do, congratulations, you're bilingual.
De hecho,
Tú antes de las redes sociales estaba viendo que trabajabas en un depo.
sí.
Sí, estaba viendo que ahí despachabas y todo.
Feliz ese tema.
Sí, de hecho trabajaba por 2 años, trabajaba ahí en esa tienda. Ahí me hice viral, toda la gente me conocieron, todos.
It was there when she started to do content in social media, when she was 19 years old, under the name of Lupita TikTok. One of her videos dancing went viral, so her spontaneous charm, her charisma, captured a lot of users' attention, what moved her to keep making videos. This way, she started to gain a lot of following. From then on, she started to upload more content, videos talking to camera, showing her day by day, dancing, or interacting with followers. Meanwhile, her audience kept growing, and like we all know, the fame comes with a price. And the price was jokes, cruel comments, and her constant infantilization of her person. A lot of people did not see her like a grown woman, with her own thoughts and feelings. but only as a funny character. Lupita already had notoriety, but it was thanks to her participation in the show Adrián Marcelo Presenta, mostly because of a video where they ask her how many bones does the human body have, and she answered this.
¿Cuántos huesos tiene el cuerpo humano?
7.
¿Qué te pasa, Lupita?
Tranquila.
Dale todo.
A ver, dime los 7 huesos.
Los 7 pecados
Dime
capitales.
los 7 huesos del ser humano. Los 7 huesos.
Lupita, tienes que apoyar ahí.
Los 7 huesos que tiene.
El cuerpo humano,
¿Sí?
el corazón,
¿Ok?
el carnívoro,
¿Ok? Te faltan 5. ¡Ay, cabrón!
No quiere.
Desconéctalo.
This video turned her into trending topic in Mexico and made her even more viral. Since the first second of her appearance in such show, it was clear that she was not there to be known deeply as a person, but to only be made fun of. The laughs of the live production, the sarcastic comments, and the condescending tone created an ambience of humor that was in reality mockery and ridiculing, disguised as comedy. But she decided to take this attention and convert it into her own platform.
Porta panzona, la Lupita.
Lupita
Quiere que le ponga música pa' que baile hasta abajo la bebé.
No tan abajo, va.
No.
Further on, Lupita would get to know a man named Ricardo Medellin, a man who has his own trajectory to speak of. Not clean at all. Full of red flags, Ricardo Medellin has a past we can't and won't ignore. We don't have much information on how the love story of Lupita and Ricardo began, but we only know mostly that they got to know each other on public transport, and their relationship started to get a spotlight in social media, where they started to share photos and videos together. Ricardo is 46 years old and worked as a driver in the public transport industry in Monterrey. His relationship with Lupita, which at the time she had 21 years of age, had a lot of controversy due to the age difference. Ricardo has mentioned his life has changed positively since he got to know Lupita, letting us know that she helped him conquer a very difficult stage in his life, marked by addiction and alcoholism, also getting over a divorce and the death of his brother. What alerted me instantly is that the same Ricardo confessed that when he had 39 years of age, he got married with a minor, a girl of 14 years old.
Tiene 22, tú tienes
Tiene 22, yo tengo 46. Bueno, yo cuando tenía 39 me casé con una de 14 también, ¿verdad?
¿Cuándo tenías cuántos?
Cuando tenía 29.
Y por...
Tengo mi hijo de 16 y hasta ahorita lo veo y veo a la mamá de él, o sea, a darle dinero.
This declaration at the moment, away from alerting people, unfortunately was almost lost in the internet, and people did not pay much attention to it. With that girl, he had a child that is currently a teenager, and according to Ricardo, he keeps helping her and him economically. When he was asked about the age difference, he answered that even though he is old, there is no problem because he has the mentality of a 25-year-old.
Y años o para ti es muy natural.
Es que, mira, la gente lo mira así de que yo estoy viejo, pero yo tengo
La fuerza.
como la juventud de 22, 25 años. Yo
La
bailo.
potencia.
La potencia.
Yo bailo, me cotorreo como si nada, como acaba. Tengo la mentalidad como de 25 años. O sea, yo bailo y la chingada y me tiro al piso, me revuelco y todo el pedo.
Ricardo came together with James. He was Lupita's manager, and between both of them, they started to get paid themselves from campaigns or publicity from Lupita.
Pero ¿quién te habla? Por ejemplo, un negocio te dice, Lupita, quiero que vengas y que pruebes aquí la comida que yo estoy haciendo. O como...
Algo así, me
Ajá.
invitan a comer así de todo.
Ajá. Y
les cobro algo.
I don't know what you think, but only by listening how they talk about it, it causes me alarm. Eventually, her husband and James, the manager, decided that Lupita will also venture into the music industry, launching several songs in different platforms, from which she will also start to do live shows, looking for interviews, etc. We can notice that Lupita doesn't even know the name of her own songs. I think for us that we watch with critic conscience, there is something very evident. Ricardo does not see in Lupita an equal partner. A lot of people think that he sees in her a vulnerable figure and easy to manipulate. He can use her to get money and attention. Since they started their relationship, Ricardo has been a critical piece in the content that Lupita creates. They film together, talk together, and promote products together. They even have done publicity for restaurants, food stands, casinos online, etc. Adding to all this, her manager has stated that he has no further contact with Lupita because of respect towards her husband.
Y me contactó ahora más con Medellín, con Sonri, de que, pues por respeto y para incluirlo a todo, siempre le digo, ¿qué onda? Mañana tenemos video con Alex Villanueva. Los veo en el salón a la tal hora.
He helps him know how much to get paid per event, so leaving Lupita out of the picture completely of knowing how much she is getting paid. As well, not even knowing how much she is going to work. As a pregnant woman in her last trimester, she shouldn't be doing big effort or at least have the most rest as possible. There is evidence on how she is being worked all day.
Pues ya los cité, no sé, a mediodía. Ya empezamos a grabar 2 horas después.
Ajá.
Duramos toda la tarde y pues nos venimos para acá.
Sí.
Y ahorita pues ya a lo mejor ya venimos un poquito así como medios no tan acá, tan arreglados, pero pues así andamos trabajando ya todo el día.
Sí.
Todo el día, pero sí es de que se arregla y a grabar.
Shortly after Lupita found herself pregnant and the reactions were immediate and divided, some people congratulated her, but many others started to question her surrounding, her emotional stability, and her capacity to raise a baby due to not being able to sometimes even finish a single sentence or going all over the place when answering a question.
Os quiero de regreso a mi niña y ya de cuenta que la quiero mucho y pues estamos esperando las noticias que nos digan que tiene, qué le pasa o algo. Ahorita voy a subir para arriba, a que me dicen y pues ahorita voy a entrar yo con ella ahorita en una horita más, ya ahorita me marcan, entro para allá para arriba y pues...
All her pregnancy was documented in TikTok. Lupita shows sonograms, talks a bit about her experience, Ricardo taking videos of her while sleeping. So, in the middle of all the engagement, the growing of her followers, and her pregnancy, someone got close to Lupita, the influencer Carely Ruiz. Both of them creating videos together and growing a relationship. Even Lupita decided to tattoo herself with a similar one that Carely has in her honor. Little by little, her pregnancy started to preoccupy the public, due to many of her videos can show alerts in the public. It is said she started to have changes of humor that were drastic and confusing. There was never any information if Lupita received any psychological or medical assistance during her pregnancy, but many people think that there could be zero possibility of that. Some videos called people's attention, like Like, for example, this one, where we can see Lupita yelling to the bus driver after some people complain that she has been talking or screaming too loud over the phone.
Para que sepan, respétame. Soy una mujer embarazada. Pero estoy hablando con mi esposo. Estoy hablando con mi esposo. Para que sepas. Yo me bajo en la vuelta. ¿Por qué? Cita, fue muy divertido. No sabía que...
It was also alarming that Ricardo nor Lupita knew how many weeks of pregnancy she had. This talks about a total lack of care and follow up in her process.
Dicen que Lupita tiene ya 1 año de embarazada. Porque la vida pasa y Lupita sigue embarazada y embarazada y embarazada y pasan las semanas. ¿Cuántas semanas tienes, Lupita? ¿Cuántas semanas tiene?
Pues ella, pues, para el 23 de abril nace.
Pero no sabes cuántas semanas.
No, no sé.
¿Cómo no?
Nada es la que lleva la cuenta. Pero para este año.
Para el 2025 seguro se alivia.
Este año, este abril.
Dices que como para el 20 y tantos de abril.
23 al 30 de abril. Ahora le dieron fecha de 30 de abril.
30 de abril.
Sí.
Más o menos tendrás unas 35 semanas,
Sí.
más o menos.
Sí.
Pero no te sientes cansada.
No. Nada, ni cansada, nada.
Porque son de aquí.
No, bueno, porque ahorita estás sentada, ¿verdad? Pero
No,
tú
pero ayer andaba haciendo TikTok.
andaba haciendo TikTok.
Allá en la tienda.
Bueno, pero no anda cansada, por ejemplo, trabajando. Pero a ti que...
In a video she took with Kareli Ruiz, it alerted my attention that they asked Lupita about one occasion where her and Ricardo got separated a bit before her pregnancy. Lupita answers it was because she wanted to go back to the life she had before him.
Que ya no estabas con él. A ver.
No, ya tiene mucho, pero nos contentamos.
¿Y por qué dijo que es que ella quiere regresar a su vida de antes y no sé qué? ¿Por qué dijo eso?
Porque sí me gustaba toda mi vida. Me gustaba como era yo así.
¿Y cómo eras? ¿O cómo eres ahorita? ¿Cómo te defines en 3 palabras? Define.
O sea, ahorita me siento bien y todo. Me gusta.
¿Estás feliz por tu embarazo?
Sí, estoy feliz.
In other occasions, she has also stated how Ricardo came into her life to take her away from her friends and her lifestyle. And they fall into putting words into her mouth where they say like, well, he also helped you, right? Well, finally, it was known to the public that her daughter would go by the name Kareli Yamilet in honor of Kareli Ruiz.
Se va a llamar Yamile Kareli.
¿Va a llamar como Kareli Ruiz? ¿En serio? ¿Por qué?
Pues vimos ese nombre y le gustó.
Ah, Medellín.
Sí.
¿Ustedes son muy fans de Kareli Ruiz?
Nomás sí.
Obvio, pues si traes el tatuaje de Kareli.
Finally, in April 16th, the baby was born. It was the same Ricardo that gave out the news.
¿Qué onda, raza? Ya se alivió Lupita. Y le voy a dar esta información de cuánto pesó y cuánto midió. Aquí dice, midió 47 centímetros. O sea que está grandota. Pesó 2 kilos 820. Se alivió a las 12:05. Ahí para que los que están al pendiente de ella, los que estaban acá, de que, ¿qué onda? Que Lupita, ¿qué onda? Ahí está la información. Las dos están bien, están sanas, no va a pasar recuperación Lupita, unas 2 horas. Pero ya, ya ahorita que la pasen a piso, ya le entregamos las cosas. Y pues ya nomás esperar a que se recuperen. Sí, la evolución de la niña y todo eso, la niña está bien. Ya nos enseñó una foto, está muy bonita, me parece a mí. Al patillas. Ya está, no, pues para que sigan siguiendo a Lupita, sigan dando like y ahí está para los fans. Pues ya, y pues ahí sí, me pongo lento porque lloré mucho. Nos vemos.
Más, la gente quiere saber más, Medellín. Dale, la gente quiere saber.
Porque me enseñaron una foto de la bebé.
Sí, hasta a mí se me hace la piel chinita.
Me emocioné mucho y lloré.
Sí.
Pasó la que nos dio la información y todo eso. Ya no sé, todo salió bien y todo eso. ¿Verdad?
Qué fregón.
Por eso ya
Even though people were still worried about the newborn, because they thought that they didn't have the capability of taking care of her. Apparently, everyone continued without any problem. Lupita and her baby were released from the hospital and returned home to live like a family. They kept uploading content, but now including the baby.
Buena madre, o sea, y que tuvieras todas las atenciones con la bebé, pues con tu hija. Yo pensé que pues ibas a batallar un poquito más, pero no me de volada la cambias, la bañas.
Ay, qué bonita niña hermosa, consentida de mamá. Aquí vamos a andar como siempre, protegiéndola, cuidándola de salud y todo.
Unfortunately, everything changed when her daughter was hospitalized for emergency in the Maternity and Infant Hospital of Monterrey. The diagnosis was malnutrition, dehydration, and alarming signs of medical neglect. The authorities confirmed that the baby arrived in a critical condition, was attended by specialized medical attention. It was then when DIF, Capullos, led by Mariana Rodriguez, intervened. Mariana declared publicly, "We are running a full investigation upon the family's environment. Around the minor, we have received reports of apparent substance abuse, negligence, and unstable conditions in the household. It has not been specified what type of substances and who of the two parents have been abusing them." It was then that for the first time Lupita's situation stopped being only social media content and turned into a situation of infant endangerment that is real, tangible, and urgent. We can even see in a video that was taken while they were receiving medical attention how Lupita can't dimension the gravity of the situation and can't comprehend what was happening.
¿Cómo te sientes, Lupita?
No, bien contenta que andamos, bien, aquí andamos, muy feliz. Ya que andamos.
¿Cómo ves la atención por parte de los compañeros de SAMUR?
Pues bien, aquí andamos bien.
What is most perturbing of the situation is that while her daughter was hospitalized from malnutrition, Lupita and her partner were uploading content like nothing is happening. We can even see how they were uploading videos promoting casinos. This leaves a strong message on the evident unbalanced priorities. Lupita is not only exposed by her own impulse and lack of limits, but is being used by a man with questionable reputation that has made of Lupita's image a business. Finally, Lupita was questioned by reporters outside of the hospital since she has been sleeping there since the baby has been hospitalized. That is when she finally spoke out about the subject. She expressed her wish to recover her baby. When she was asked about the possibility of the intervention from the DIF, Lupita answered that it was a lie because she loves her daughter dearly.
Lupita, pero ¿qué le pasó? ¿Por qué mencionan en redes sociales que te la quieren quitar? Dinos si esto es verdad o es mentira.
Es mentira, de hecho, es mentira de esto. De hecho, de esto es mentira porque por lo mismo que yo la quiero mucho, la respeto, es mi hija, la adoro, la cambio, la baño, la arreglo, yo también me arreglo. Y llevo varios días, por lo mismo que tengo mi cesárea, que la tengo, ahí me estoy curando, yo por lo mismo me estoy curando y tengo las grasitas y todo. y pues quiero de regreso a mi hija y la quiero tener aquí en Mali.
From Ricardo's end, he blamed the hospital because of his daughter's state. He mentioned that because she was born a week before due, this making the medical staff the guilty ones because of her medical state.
Pues se siente bien feo, ¿va? Y más por si hubo una negligencia, que no la atendieron bien, que al llegar me dijeron que tenía el crañito abierto y eso no debería haber salido ella con eso. Ahorita nos dijeron que los riñones los tenía chiquitos, los tenía tiernitos, que todavía no estaban maduros y así no debería haber salido. Y pues nos dijo, ¿por qué le hicieron cesárea? Cuando llegué la dejé en urgencias, me dijeron, ¿por qué le hicieron cesárea? Le digo, no sé, le digo, a mí no, subí con ella, me dieron el aviso que iba a ser cesárea, pero Lupita me había dicho primero de que iba a ser parto normal. Y luego salieron que dijo, no, me la cambiaron por cesárea. Y pues según ellos iban y le checaban, 6 días estuvo internada. Según ellos les iban y le checaban, y luego llego en urgencias y que tiene el cráneo, que todavía no lo tiene sellado el cráneo, que le faltaba, y que los riñones los tiene tiernitos, que le faltaba todavía para salir.
Unfortunately, a day after, Ricardo informed that apparently the baby could have brain damage or brain death.
Información muy delicada en las redes sociales. Queremos que usted de viva voz nos diga cómo se encuentra la pequeña Kareli.
Pues acaban de decir que si le iban a hacer un estudio, que son como, no sé, como unas plaquitas, que si las plaquitas o la de esta, ¿cómo se llama? Las rayitas se quedan parejas, ya la van a dar como muerte cerebral.
While all this was happening, Ricardo kept uploading sponsorships on Lupita's Instagram as if nothing was happening. All this generated different reactions in social media. Some users expressed empathy for the situation, while others questioned the attitude of her partner, especially for the apparent lack of consciousness about the gravity of the baby's health, and because everything seemed to indicate that she is in the state that she is because of the lack of care and nutrition from her parents' end. Something that I would like to mention is that Kareli Ruiz herself offered to pay all the medical bills of the baby, even asked her followers to pray for her saving, saying, "This is not drama. It is a very serious and delicate situation. Let's pray for Lupita's baby recovery. God will know what will happen. Stop commenting without knowing about the situation. Though important here is the baby." Something that also called my attention about this case is that the attacks, judgments, and insults, from what I have read, the majority are directed to Lupita, calling her irresponsible, ridicule her, but do we really believe she is the power figure here? Lupita is a 21-year-old with an evident mental illness, a special physical condition, and with no emotional, medical, or institutional containment. She is a person that, in a lot of moments, does not appear to be aware of what is happening around her. She is not someone that can be fully on her own, and obviously cannot take care of a whole newborn baby by herself. On the other hand, it is talked very little about the man that impregnated her, of the man of almost 50 years old that has history of relationships with minors, the man that admitted being married to a 14-year-old child. Are we still being that society where a woman with a mental disability is a guilty, but the grown-ass man that controls her, impregnated her, and exposes her is simply his partner? This is not negligence. This is a type of abuse. This is why it is profoundly alarming that the public opinion is still centered in mocking and attacking Lupita, instead of demanding responsibility from her partner. I think that she does not need any judgment or punishment. The baby of Lupita, Kareli Yamilet, was in critical condition, hospitalized in the maternity and infant hospital in Monterrey. Like I mentioned, it is known she entered because of a malnutrition, dehydration, and additionally some medical complications. The information that has been circulating talks to us about a possible brain death. What has been confirmed by Ricardo's end is that the baby has been submitted to studies to evaluate her brain activity. Since her neurological response has been worrying, words being from the same Ricardo. She is unconscious, with the same problem in her kidneys, head, the brain does not want to react. She will get other studies to see if she reacts. To this, we add reports that the baby has had several convulsions and her state was extremely delicate. Meanwhile, the authorities in DIF are always and still evaluating her family's environment and the conditions that the baby was living in. Sadly, things did not get better, and on May 13th, it was confirmed that she fell into cardiac arrest. The hospital tried everything to reanimate her, but it was not enough, leaving this case open with more and more speculation of what happened while Lupita had the baby in her care. This is a very serious situation that I don't think anybody involved knows the severity of it. This latest news about the baby's passing was being circulated by a television show. Before the news got out, it was being rumored that Lupita's team sold the such news to the same television show, but nothing has been confirmed. Either way, my heart goes out to Lupita and her family during this difficult time, wishing her strength and comfort. Another thing we can't leave out is that Lupita's TikTok does not start with her baby. Lupita grew up in very difficult conditions. Her mother also living with a physical disability. In her life, there was never a solid support system, and when she finally turned famous, viral, and known by millions, people arrived that took advantage of her and benefited. Besides her husband and her manager James, a man that does not only run her contracts and collaborations, but also charged in behalf of her along with her husband. James himself has commented that Lupita has even earned over 80,000 pesos monthly. We can see Lupita living in financial instability and using public transport. James was not a stranger. He knew Lupita's state, her environment, and her vulnerability, and also was aware of the risks even though, seeing her pregnant, he never intervened. Yeah, Lupita has a responsibility, but she has never been the functioning adult of the bundle. Not even Ricardo or James as his representation. Nobody prioritized her health or the security of the baby. This just leaves us with one reflection. When all the adults fail around the vulnerable person, who can we blame? The weakest link? Because the easiest thing to do is to point fingers at Lupita. The urgency is to look into the system that ignored, permitted, and benefited from her hurt. This is not only an internet drama or speculation. The morning of May 10th, 2025, there was an investigation launched against Ricardo Medellin. He has been subject to interrogation and held under police custody. There has not been any further information on the exact reason he has been detained, only that it was rumored that also Lupita was detained with him. But it seems that it was for totally different reasons. It seems that there have been tests applied and confirmed Lupita suffers from a cognitive disorder. News channels have said this detention of Ricardo is because it is considered rape to have intercourse with a person who can not fully consent because of their cognitive disorder. And it is. It amuses me how long it took for them to take action, how long the system allowed for Lupita to be profiting out of social media and still living under deplorable conditions. Living in a society that hardly accepts differences and scrutiny, it is so hard to see that even though Lupita and her family are going through a really hard time, people still hold them subject to jokes and memes. Her father has given declarations that they have always been subject to this type of bullying, but since the news of Lupita's baby, their neighbors have been all over the place, harassing them all around the block. This is the story of a girl that grew up and developed in a string of irresponsible adults. Lupita is not a meme. She is not a saint, but overall, she is not the only one responsible. I hope this case helps to talk more about mothers that are not ready to be so, and about people that use their power over the most vulnerable. If we keep ignoring this, there will still be more and more Lupitas, more daughters, and more situations like this. but that is only my opinion. What is yours?